Well, hey everyone. I hope you're doing well. It's like day 21 for us here in northwestern Pennsylvania. And I know it's been a bit more for those in other areas, like Washington State, New York, and some of the others. But there are lots of things that also trickle throughout the US as well. I'm sure you've noticed that over the years that the new trends we often see get their start on the West Coast and in some of the larger areas. Whether it's clothing styles or phrases or even mindsets. Recently I was able to be in San Diego for a few days for some training. And it was my first experience in California. It's definitely a beautiful area, and the weather there provided a nice break from our norm. While we were there, I heard of the term FOMO for the first time. I was later informed that it must be that I'm old and out of touch, that I hadn't even heard of it before, but that is something that people deal with on a constant basis. As it was being explained to me, FOMO is an acronym for the fear of missing out. I immediately thought of it as one of those typical West Coast mentalities. But what I found out is that as people share pictures or events of things that have happened, it causes those who weren't there to feel left out. I never thought it would be something I'd really have to personally deal with, at least not until my girls get a little bit older. However, what I see happening across our country, we found ourselves missing out on a lot of different activities and annual events. We find ourselves wishing that we could celebrate birthdays and anniversaries in a more of a normal fashion. Public events that were previously scheduled for the middle of the summer are already being canceled. We imagine that it should be all cleared up by a certain date that we come up with in our minds, only to find out a few days later that that possibility is quickly fading. We may find ourselves focusing on a lot of what ifs and how comes. And this FOMO is becoming more and more of a reality. My oldest daughter has been looking forward to the celebration that would happen in her last year of elementary school. My youngest is fearing that she won't have time to practice her gymnastics routine for the annual show. And it hasn't quite dawned on her yet that the show itself might not happen. And my wife, Emily, and I were talking just the other night about how heavy the weight is of all that we are missing out on. God's word has a lot to say about the many disappointments that we are all forced to deal with. If we were to look back at the life of David, who is arguably the most famous king Israel had, he knew a thing or two about disappointment. His life was more like a roller coaster of ups and downs. He had enemies and friends, mentors and animals trying to kill him at one time or another. He had times of extreme integrity and times of complete moral failure. Yet, as he wrote throughout the Psalms, a book of poems in the Old Testament, he praises God for the blessings that he received, yet also continuously begs him for protection. In fact, in Psalm chapter 16, he says this. He says, "Keep me safe, O God, for I have come to you for refuge. I said to the Lord, you are my master. Every good thing I have comes from you." Also in chapter 9, he says that I will praise you, Lord, with all my heart. I will tell you of all the marvelous things that you have done. I will be filled with joy because of you. I will sing praises to your name, O Most High. My enemies retreated. They staggered and died when you appeared, for you have judged in my favor. From your throne you have judged with fairness. The Lord is a shelter for the oppressed, a refuge in times of trouble. Those who know your name trust in you. For you, O Lord, do not abandon those who search for you. We may all be missing out on life as we knew it, but I want you to know that we're all in this together. You may feel alone, you may feel abandoned, but during this time especially, we have more in common with the entire world than we ever have or may ever have again. There may be a lot that we are missing out on, but there will also be a lot that we can learn from. I hope you guys have a good day, and we'll talk to you soon.